I'm standing in front of my 03 F250 6-liter truck, getting ready to change out the secondary transmission filter. I've had this filter for quite some time and just been lazy and not done it. It's cartridge style setup. So once I take the receiver cartridge off, it'll have this media inside. And I think the new filter came with, yes, a new O-ring. So that's the one that I got. I'm sure it's just a cheap one, but I figured it's better to go ahead and change it with something than just leave it alone. Another thing I noticed about my truck, on occasion, when I go to back out of a parking spot or something and put the truck in reverse, there is no movement. It's like it doesn't go into reverse gear. It's like it just goes to neutral or something. And I'm having to pull it down the drive and then go back to reverse, and then I have reverse again. Now, some people online say, oh, your transmission is junk, rebuild the transmission. Other people say that filter causes that issue. So, hey, it needs it anyhow, so I'm gonna replace that filter. Oh, let's get a look at what we got here. So this is the filter housing we're talking about. As you can see, this one's all nasty and corroded up. I already got it broke loose. It is a 22 millimeter. I used a medium-sized extension and breaker bar to get it broke loose. Now you'll notice it's got some thin sheet metal bracketry that it's mounted with. I noticed when I started trying to break it loose, when I started twisting, the bracket kind of moved because it was very tight. Some people online say put an impact on it and just give it a quick blip to break it loose. I just chose to hold the upper part of the socket with my hand to kind of keep the deflection off of the mounting bracket while I twisted and got it broke loose. Mine popped loose. So I get this took down and try to clean everything up, get it changed. All right, so I got the housing off. It just kind of drops straight down off of there. Notice inside it's very dirty, and the media itself looks very bad. I believe it was definitely time to change this out. This is what a lot of people refer to as the toilet paper filter. As you saw in the earlier in the video, the filter I picked up to replace this with is a media type with a pleated element. I prefer this better. I feel like it's got more surface area. So at any rate, we're going to press on. My canister all cleaned up. There's no way I'm taking a part off like this and not cleaning it up before I put it back on. Cleaned out the inside and everything real good. What I'm getting at is you probably could have the outside not worried about it, just changed the element and went on. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Interesting. I did notice once I got all the dirt and everything off of this, it says running at 22 millimeters, so that's actually what Ford recommends. Now, like I mentioned, mine come with a new O-ring. You don't see a place for the O-ring to sit here, so that tells us the O-ring receiver must be on the main housing itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this built back up, get the new filter put in it, and take a look up there and put the O-ring on and put it back together. Okay, so a couple notes. Evidently, I had a little information from the previous owner of my truck that it had been used by somebody that worked at a mine company or something like that. So anywhere that was prone to leaks was kind of would have whatever oil buildup and then dirt buildup on top of it. So I had a bit of scaly dirt crap around the top here that I had to get off. Notes. Previous owner of my truck had told me that whoever had owned it before him had worked for a mining company, so anywhere that there were leaks, dirt had stuck to it and built up a thick film of dirt and oily mixture. So I was very careful when I knocked that off around the seating area of this housing that I didn't get any in the ring and the O-ring groove or the threads or anything like that. I don't want any contamination getting inside of my transmission. But you can see that the O-ring groove is right here on this receiver. So I'm gonna pop that off, put the new one on. And another thing I noticed, the filter media that I got, the replacement I mentioned earlier, I noticed that the hole on the end of it, there's a different size on one end than it is the other. But I also noticed that this little piece that sits down on the bottom of the housing canister deal fit right in that side well, and the hole on the other end fits right in the groove up there well. So I know I've got the orientation of my filter the right way and it's not upside down. Something else to note, when I was cleaning up the filter housing, of course I was reaching down inside here with a rag, you know, to clean it up and running my hand back and forth. You notice I got a little cut there. Be careful, because it seems like this outer edge is very sharp on this thing. So if you can keep from cutting yourself, you're better off. And put her back together. The last thing you do is look at the instructions, right? Well, according to the instructions that came with the filter, it says, and it shows my toilet paper style, the old one, and then this new one, and it says to install with that end down, being this end. Just the opposite of what I had said earlier. Something I don't like about this, I'm just now noticing, you notice the hole that the clean fluid goes back through. The dirty comes in the outside of the filter, clean goes out of the middle. It's got a wide open shot. If this side's down, that means the oil or fluid going back to the transmission goes through that little teeny hole. I don't know how much I like that. I may end up changing this back out, getting the factory one from Ford. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and stick it in just like it says. I did notice that when I push this end up onto the main housing itself, the base, it'll actually hang from there. So seems like everything will work that way as long as it flows enough through there. We'll see. So after giving it some thought as to how I want to do this, I decided to go ahead and attach the filter to the base. Inside the canister here is the other side of things. And when you go to put this on here, nice and even, you feel it kind of line up. And I understand you want to push up a little bit because this bottom piece that's on the inside here is spring loaded. So I'm going to push up just a little bit and turn until I get my thread started. So I feel it catch. Hopefully. Hopefully without stripping it. Go backwards a little bit first, maybe. And then forward. Okay, we got it that time without cross-threading, without stripping. And tighten. It's bottomed out. I'll go ahead and put my breaker bar on it with my socket and get it about as tight as it was before. It's got an O-ring, it doesn't have to be killer tight. So basically snug it up. And that's it. If a person wanted to, they could go ahead and maybe half fill this canister with ATF before they slid it back up on here. That way the media will have a chance to soak before you start it up and cycling fluid through it. But it is a bypass filter to the best of my knowledge. It's not full flow, so actually this one may be full flow. Let's see. Transmission core lines right to here. Go straight to the transmission, or the radiator, transmission cooler. At any rate, job's done. If you do, go ahead and put transmission fluid in here, check your dipstick for the proper fluid. And once you start up the vehicle, let it run for just a minute or two, shut it back off, and then the second start, I typically will go ahead and let everything warm up and then check my fluid levels and top off as needed. Okay, so I changed out that transmission filter just a little bit ago, and I'm driving the truck. Everything seems to be working fine. Transmission shifts good still, no problems, no issues. just makes me nervous. You know what? I'm parking the truck until I can buy a Motorcraft filter, and I'm gonna change that thing back out and put a Motorcraft filter in it, because I just do not trust it. The hole on the original filter, you know, it went through the outside of that toilet paper media to the inside and flowed through the inside back in. Okay, so the opening on that hole was about a 1/4 inch diameter versus the pinhole that the fluid has to flow back through on that aftermarket filter I bought at O'Reilly's. I just don't see it. Parking the truck, like I said, look for part 2 of this video. I'm not sure if I'm just gonna attach it on the end of this one when I get the new filter to Motorcraft and change it out, or if I'm just gonna post this video and then do a part 2. So stay tuned.